The powerful voice in the opening moments of The Lion King belongs to this man.
And it means there comes a lion, because I know a lot of people want to know what that means.
Lebo M grew up in Soweto, South Africa. His unique musical intuition led him to Los Angeles, where he established himself as a South African musician.
When I first came home, most people don't know this part, is, you know, after you make your first check in Los Angeles with your first 2 projects, you blow all the money. You buy everything you've been dreaming of, and you get something strange called broke. You know, and at this point, there's a lot of energy around South Africa, and I've done Power of One. I think I've done 1 or 2 other projects, but I'm not as financially matured as I should be. I'm not as suave with the industry and the business part of the industry as I should be. I'm a young, excited professional. But there's a lot of energy focused on South Africa. There's negotiations, there's possibilities that Nelson Mandela will come out of jail. So most of us are focused on the possibilities of what might happen in South Africa. So when I come back home for the first time is, again, not for political reasons. I was broke. And we were allowed to come into South Africa. I believe it's 1992 when I first came home, if not 91. So it allowed me the opportunity to be away from Los Angeles, reconnect with family in South Africa, kind of like hide my stupidity of having blown the money. And, you know, but eventually when I get called into Los Angeles, is after I had done Power of One and had done 2 or 3 other projects, then a guy named Hans Zimmer calls me. I got to go to Los Angeles to do a demo of something called The Lion King, a movie.
But he didn't just call you. He searched for you.
They looked all over.
He wanted you.
Yeah.
And only you. Yeah. On this movie that was about to be made called The Lion King.
Yeah, we had created a formula with Hans that puts together Eurocentric orchestration with African voices and African big drums and I think we created a very unique soundtrack. It's still my very favorite soundtrack. By the time he had committed to what became The Lion King, there were other people hired that I replaced that were bought out because Hans was reluctant to continue without me in the project.
Lebo M arranged music that captured the spirit of Africa, in tune with the politics of the time.
When Simba takes over Pride Land, to me, is not an animation. The lyrical inspiration around that is visualizing Nelson Mandela becoming president at the same time when Simba takes over Pride Land. So there was a lot of it's a personal journey for me, this project.
Disney's 1994 The Lion King is a roaring success. It received 2 Academy Awards, 3 Golden Globes, and is the highest-grossing hand-drawn film in history. Let's talk about the Broadway show then. So you've done you've achieved amazing success with The Lion King movie. Were you part of the decision makers to make it a Broadway show?
No.
How did they bring you in? What did they want from you?
It came from the success of the movie and the work I did in the movie, not only as the first voice you hear when the movie starts, but all the arranging and orchestrations and everything else that I co-wrote with Hans.
During the making of the Lion King film, Hans Zimmer and Lebo M wrote so much music that an executive at Disney decided to put out a second album, titled Rhythm of the Pride Lands.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, that's wonderful.
Film, theatre and opera director Julie Taymor heard it and wanted to talk with Lebo M.
I was flown to New York to meet with Julie, and we started immediately getting creative, and I'm one of the 4 principals that got involved in the construction, creative construction of the Lion King Broadway show. And I became heavily involved in setting up the casting process, especially for South Africans all over the world, because we decided earlier on that to keep the inspiration of what you felt in the movie I needed to have central to the cast South Africans performing in The Lion King in order for the work that I did to come out more and more in person. That's what Julie wanted. Julie wanted in-your-face South African and African inspiration that drove the movie soundtrack.
She wanted that authenticity.
The authenticity, yeah.
Now, the Broadway show, so many awards to keep track of. 6 Tony Awards, it's won. It's been running now for 15 years, which is no small...
And that's the New York show outside more than 8 productions. The London has been running for more than 10 years. There's 2 in Asia. And
Well, so my question to you is, in a world where it's not very easy to make successful Broadway shows, how did you get it right? How do you keep it going?
I think Lion King offered more than the average. Lion King was driven and is driven contextually by a very African sense of spirit, sense of color, and sense of authenticity. And yet the storyline is global. You know what I mean? I hope I'm making sense, because everything else that has come and gone was not packaged the way The Lion King was packaged. And why I say it takes a certain kind of producer to visualize that and create a team and a director like Julie and ourselves, it had to take a global community of creative people to create a product that can touch people from all areas of life and from all parts of different communities in the world. But at the end of the day, I think maybe I'm biased because I'm South African by birth. I think the authenticity and the raw Africanness of The Lion King is a bigger selling point than any other product that has ever been on Broadway or on stage, done with a world-class quality approach.
And his so-called Africanness has been an inspiration to others hoping to follow in his footsteps.